again. We're back again. Small Business Saturday at Life is Art, and we are crafting up a storm today with some ideas for Christmas and for gifts and for the holidays, but also some of them can translate into any time of year. My little gift to you as we celebrate Small Business Saturday. So this next crafting item that we're going to make is one that I have actually done before, but it was a couple years ago, and some of you probably weren't following me then, and I don't even know if you can find, I know it's not uploaded to my YouTube channel, so I thought, hey, I'm going to do that one again, because it's a really fun project, and it creates a really cool Christmas bauble ornament, but it also doubles as a treat box or a little gift box, and you can even use it as a place setting. Lots of fun ideas. So if you're popping on to watch, just say hello or howdy so I know you're here, and we will get started. If you're watching later on replay, just say replay. So I've got here a piece of, again, that bulk paper, but you can use, just pick any Christmas paper that you love. It's nice to have a design that's kind of an all-over design. Either one of these would work. I'm going to use the red side today for my little Christmas bauble because, you know, red's kind of classic. And so this is an 8 1/4 by 5 inch piece of paper, and that's the only piece of paper we need for this. We're just going to do a whole lot of scoring, so get ready for this. And once you get it, it's so easy and quick to make these. All right. Lynn says she's excited to see what it is. I think you're going to love this. So we're going to line up our piece of paper on our Versamat. So this is our 8 1/4 by 5 inch piece of paper. And we are going to start by doing some scoring. And we are going to score every 1 inch all the way across here. So we're going to score at 1 inch. Easy peasy. We're going to score at 2 inches. We're going to score at 3 inches. We're going to score at 4 inches. As long as you don't make a mistake, you're good. 5 inches, 6 inches, 7 inches, and 8 inches. And you will see that we have that little 1/4 of an inch left over, and that is our tab for connecting everything together in the end. So that is important. We're just going to leave that little 1/4 of an inch there. Now we're going to turn our piece of paper 90 degrees, and we're going to line it back up here. And guess what? We're going to score every inch. See how simple this is? We're going to score at 1 inch. I feel like a cheerleader. Like 2, 4, 6, 8. 2 inches. We're going to score at 3 inches, and we're going to score at 4 inches. So now if I hold this up in the light, or you use your imagination, you should hopefully be able to see little shiny parts there that show you that I've just created a 1 by 1 grid over my entire piece of paper, except for this little 1/4 of an inch flap at the end. Okay? Now we are going to go ahead and we're going to crease all of our score lines. And because we've pushed in on this side, and this is the side I want on the outside of my bauble, we're going to flip it over because this is now technically the bump side. And you always like to score with the crease, with the score line with the bump side to the inside. And if you use your Versamat and you lay it flat, you can kind of just roll your paper and it will automatically find, even if you can't see it, it will find the next score line. If you just kind of roll it, it just knows where to go because we did that creasing or that scoring. And then I always like to check just because I'm not using a scoreboard. I like to make sure that my sides are even, nothing's sticking out weird. And we're just creasing on all of the score lines all the way along. Easy peasy. And you will notice that it will start curling, and that's exactly what you want because we're trying to make a Christmas bauble, a Christmas ornament. So when we get to the last one is always a little bit difficult because it's just that little 1/4 of an inch. So you're just going to have to kind of massage it into place. There we go. Okay, so now you can see it's creating that nice curve shape that we want for a Christmas ornament. Hey Heather, nice to see you're watching. And now we are going to fold on all of our horizontal score lines all the way along the long length. And again, we can kind of just rock that paper until it finds the score line and crease it all the way along. We go to the next one. Give it a little rock, a little bit of encouragement. That one doesn't want to take. There we go. All the way across. Sometimes when you've got the score lines going the other way, it's a little bit more tricky to get the second. Because there's so many score lines, right? And then crease lines. And I'm going to turn it around for this last one. And crease that one. And you want to make sure you use your bone folder to get it nice and crisp. So now you can see that it's curving this way too. But we really want it to curve this way. So you kind of massage it back into place. All right, so now we need to do a little bit of fussy scoring. You know how I like fussy cutting? Well, this is going to be a little bit of fussy scoring. So let me grab, actually I'm going to flip to the inside because I want to do some drawing on here. And I don't want it to show on the outside, right? So I've got my white gel pen here, so hopefully you'll be able to see. Make sure it's going. There we go. So I've got my little 1/4 inch tab here. Hopefully you'll be able to see these lines. And then I've got some score lines, and I am just roughly drawing this, so don't take it as gospel truth that these lines are where I'm drawing. Okay, and then we've also got score lines going this direction. Oh my goodness, wobbling everywhere. You know, I could use a ruler for this, but, you know, it's just to get you the idea, okay? So there you can see a little bit better where all of those lines are. What I want to do is I want to do a little bit of marking on here. And when I'm starting at the end with the tab, so this is our 1/4 inch tab over here, I want to come down one from the top in this first wide 1 inch column. I'm going to come down one from the top, and I want to mark right in the center of the top of this square. I don't know if you can see that. I've marked it right in the center of the top of this square. Okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my bone folder and my ruler, and I'm actually going to score from the top of where I made that mark down to this intersection here on an angle. And then I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to score from this down to here. Okay? And I'm going to repeat that same process in every other square. So I'm going to ignore this one. So that's an ignore. And then on this one, I'm going to mark the center, and I'm going to score from here and here. And I'm going to skip this one, and then I'm going to do this one. I'm going to skip this one. I'm going to do this one, and I'm going to skip this one. So you see how I've kind of marked that all out? But we're going to repeat the same process. Now, this is our center line. We have 5 squares. So the third one down is our center. So we're going to skip the center, and we're going to come down one, and we're going to mark the center at the bottom of this square, and then we're going to score from there to there, like that. Okay, so we're doing the opposite of what we did above down at the bottom. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to skip this one. We're going to mark the center of this one. And you know what? You don't have to do all this scribbling when you're doing yours. I'm just doing it so that you can see what's happening. We're going to skip. We're going to go to the center of this one. We're going to skip. We're going to go to the center of this one. Okay, so now that I've marked everywhere, let's do the actual thing, okay? So I've got my 1 inch square here. Now, these are just 1 inch squares. So you could be precise. You could line it up, you know, on the edge of your Versamat with that 1/4 inch off the edge. And you could, you know, take your ruler and you could mark exactly 1/2 inch. It does not need to be that precise, okay? It's just put your scoring tool in the center, and then we're going to go from the center down to the intersection of the next one. And of course, I've drawn my lines all over the place, so it's going to be a little hairy. And then we're going to go back up to the top, and we're going to score from the top here down to the score line over here, the intersection of the score line. Okay, so we have just scored just up and down like a little mountain. We're going to skip this one, and we're going to go to the next one. Now, I'm going to actually turn my paper a smidge because it makes it easier for me to do the scoring. So I'm going to start at the top of this 3rd little square over, and I'm going to go from the center down to the score line on the corner, and from the top, center, to this one. So I made another little triangle hill. And then I'll go to the next one. Line myself up in the center, and I'm going to score down this side, and then swing and score down this side. And then I'm going to skip the next one, go to this one, line myself up in the center, and I'm going to score and score. Okay, now I want to come down to this row down here, so 1 up from the bottom. And I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm finding my center at the bottom of the box and then scoring up like that. And going here. And because my lines are all over the place, I'm not 100% sure I'm scoring in the right spot, but that's okay. So now we're going to skip a box, and we're going to come over here, and we're going to line it up, score there, and score here. So we're not scoring all the way across our paper. We're just doing inside this, one little box at a time. Now I'm going to skip a box, and I'm going to go to this one, and I'm going to line up my center to the corner. Again, this side, from the center to the corner. Skip a box. Going to go to the next one. Line up at the center of the bottom of this box and score and score. Okay, so lots of scoring and boxes and all the things, right? Are you confused yet? It's fine. It's all good. Okay, so now we need to trim out some extra squares. And the squares that we need to trim out are above these points. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to take our scissors and we're going to trim on the score line between each of these 1 inch boxes. Okay, so we're just going to go all the way across, and we're only trimming up to the first horizontal score line. We're making like a big wide 1 inch fringe all the way along our length here. Following the score lines as well as you can, especially if you drew all over it, like I did, all the way across. Okay, now I'm going to turn it a little bit here, and so this first little box, we have our 1/4 inch tab, and then in our first little box here, we have our point, right? Our little triangle that we've scored. So we're actually going to trim along the score line here and take off the tab and the first box in this bottom row. Then we're going to skip the next one because there's no point that's been scored here. Okay, so the easiest thing is to kind of tuck it in like that so it's out of the way. Then we're going to trim off the next one because there is a point scored in this box here. Then we're going to skip this one, so we're going to tuck it in, and we're going to trim off the box that's above this point. Okay, we're just working our way along. Now we're going to skip this one, so let's tuck it in and trim the next box. Okay, and then we'll leave the last one as well. So we've created kind of like the turret on the top of a castle, right? We've got that little up and down bit. We'll scooch those out of the way. We can use those for another project, and we're actually going to use one on this project as well. So now we're going to do the same thing at the top, okay? So we're going to first trim between, or snip in between all of the 1-inch boxes along the score line, just up to that first horizontal score line. And once you've got one side done, it's a little bit easier to do the other side because you're just mirroring what happened before. Now we don't need to worry about that little tab because like we did before, we're going to trim it off. Okay, so let's start down here. There's no point here. So we're going to tuck that tab in, and then this next one where there is a point, we're going to trim it off. Okay, so we'll tuck the next one in. We'll trim this one off. And if you go from side to side, right, tuck, tuck, you'll know that you have the right ones. We're going to trim where the point is, then we're going to tuck, tuck, and this time we can trim right to the edge and take that little bit of the tab off as well. There we go. So now we have, this is what we've got. It looks a bit like a little caterpillar or something ready to go for a journey. Our next step is that we need to add some holes because this needs to have a string on it to hold it up. So what we can do is we can take one of our little squares that we had here, and we can actually fold it from point to point in one direction. So we're reusing, repurposing, and open it up. And then we're going to fold it from point to point again. And this is helping us find the center of this little square. Okay? And then we can have our hole punch, and we're just going to punch right where those intersect. Just like that. And now we can go ahead and take our little template that we've created. We can line it right up. We're going to punch holes down one side or the other. Doesn't matter which one. We're just going to punch holes down one side. The other side we're going to leave whole. So we line up our little template and we can just punch right through the hole. Easy peasy. Go to the next one. Line it up. Punch a hole. There we go. If you have a regular hole punch like I do, that works. I also have a smaller one, which would work for this too. But I couldn't find it. So any kind of hole punch will work. And we'll just go all the way along, punching on all 4 of those little tabs. Okay? So that is all punched out there now. And now we need to do the creasing on our little triangles. And for this, we need to actually crease on the good side. We're going to bend them this way. So where the little notches have been cut out, you know that this is where you have done your triangular creases. And you're only going to crease in this little square. So you're going to kind of lift up here on an angle. It helps to kind of keep your finger down in, or you can pick it up in the air like this. And you're just going to crease that little tiny bit. You don't want to crease all the way across, just within that little square. And you can go to the other side and crease that first line too. Sometimes it helps to look on the back side. And then we've got the other angle inside the same box. And again, you can pick it up. You can do whatever feels most comfortable to you. But we're going to be folding these as valley folds. So they're folding down and our front side is coming together, and that's what creates that valley fold. And then we're going to come across to this side and we'll do the same. Just crease that little triangle. So you're going to see that this is now going to start to curl this way. So here it's been curling this way. Now it's going to try and curl this way, and that's okay. Now this one has no scoring because it's got the flaps. So we go to the next one here, and we can crease on those diagonal score lines Sometimes it's easier if you just go down one whole side. And then we go to the next one that has the score lines. And work your way down. How's everybody doing? Can you see this coming together yet? It's funny, when you get to the end, it's like doing origami. When you get to the end, you're like, oh, that's what's happening. Because it all just falls into place. Paper has memory, so once you crease it and score it, it will follow that creasing and scoring, which is why if you do it wrong, it kind of affects things. So I'm going to go down the other side now, folding on all of those little triangular score lines that we created in every other box. And just give it a little, kind of just pinching, right? Just to make it come together. And then the last one, just a little pinch. And one more. I'm going to turn it around. My hand's falling asleep. There we go. So now you'll see that it's all kind of folding in on this side, but that's okay. Just take it to the other side and push it down in the center, and it will pop back out to the direction we want it to curve, because this is what I want on my outside. Alrighty, so now we want to attach our little 1/4 inch flap here. So let's lay it down like this. How are we going to, no, we're going to lay it down like this. We're going to fold in 2 of the boxes so that we've got this little 1/4 inch flap showing. We're going to take our double-sided adhesive. You can use tape runner, you can use liquid glue, whatever strikes your fancy. And we're just going to go all the way along that 1/4 inch flap. And you could try to like do this up in the air, but it'll never line up. So the easiest thing to do is to fold in the first 2 squares and then come to this side and fold 1, 2 squares in. And if you bring this over and lay it down flat, it will line up perfectly, just like that. No extra effort on your part because it's just automatically goes there because you did all those score lines. So now you can see we've got this really funky looking tube with all sorts of things everywhere. Now I want you to squeeze it down flat again. And we're going to take our tape again. And I'm going to add adhesive onto these 2 squares that have the pattern that's on the inside. So whatever pattern you're putting to the inside, we're going to add adhesive to those 2 squares, but not to these 2. Okay? Then we can open it up a little bit and remove the backing off of this. And we can do the other one as well. Why not? We'll just try not to stick things together funky. This is one of those projects that the first time you do it, you're going to have to follow along with the video. After you've done it once or twice, you're going to just be like, I know what I'm doing. Okay? So now what we want to do is if you open this up a little bit and you kind of just roll it, can you see how it kind of makes a rectangle? See that? Kind of a rectangle forms. And so we can kind of tuck the this flap in like so. Actually, we'll lay it down. So we've got our rectangle. We're going to tuck this flap in that doesn't have the adhesive on it. So it kind of makes like a little bridge. So you can't really squish down in the center here. So tuck it right in so that it lines up with the crease line of the piece that we're folding up. And then this tab that has the gluey bit, we're going to fold it up and stick it to there. I know this seems a little bit fiddly, but as I say, once you've done it once, it'll be easy. So there, we've filled in the center of our little rectangle. Well, now we can kind of push those edges out. And as we push those edges out from the inside, you will see that our little triangle corners here will kind of tuck themselves in. You see how that's happening? Those little triangle corners kind of tuck themselves in so that we create the shape that we want for the bottom of our bauble. See that? See how the little triangles are tucking in? So this is the side that has no adhesive. So I'm going to push it in until it lines up with the ones that we already had before. Okay. And then, oops, I got my finger stuck in the adhesive. Take the side that has the adhesive and line it up with the bottom. And then we can flip it over. We can take our bone folder and we can kind of give it a little oomph from the inside. Look at that. We've created the bottom of our little bauble, and you can start to see the shape coming together. Isn't that cool? All right, so now we're going to have to close up our top, and this is why we have our little circles that have been punched in the top. We can also add in some treats. So if we want to just have this as a bauble on our tree, we don't have to add anything to it. If we wanted to create a whole bunch of these and do it as a countdown to Christmas calendar, we could put little gifts in there, little treats, little notes, anything like that. If we want to use it as in place of a Christmas cracker on our festive table, then we could tuck little treats and jokes and whatever else we want in there. So I have a couple little treats here, some little minty treats, chocolaties from World's Finest Chocolate Factory in Campbellford, where my mom and dad live. And so we've tucked those in there, and you can actually probably put 4 in there if I was being generous. Let me see. Look at that. Another little one. Just tuck it right on in. Okay, so we need to create our closure for the top. So you remember that piece that we used as a template earlier. We're going to take that, and we're just going to round the corners. Just rounding the corners, and this is not precise. This is just rounding the corners. We're making ourselves a little washer. You know when you're putting nuts and bolts and things, and sometimes you put a washer on so something doesn't pull through. And then we're going to take a piece of ribbon, whatever kind of ribbon you have. I only have this burlap ribbon here. Oh, and actually it's run out and it's not long enough. So let me just grab another roll, because I have another roll. Look at that. Handy dandy. I didn't realize I was so close to the end, obviously. I've been making too many Christmas baubles. And this, let me get the plastic off. Oh, let's try that again. This is always the hard part of anything, right? Is getting into the packaging. Do you find that? And between my eyes and my fingers. The funniest is when you buy like a pair of scissors and you need a pair of scissors to get into the package. That always amuses me. All right, so we want to cut about a 10-inch piece. And I'm just going to trim it off there. The ends don't even have to look pretty because they're not going to get seen. So we're just going to fold it in half, and we're going to do one of these ones where you kind of wrap it around your finger and push the ends through, and we want the knot to be pretty close to the end, right? So that we have a nice little hanger for our little bauble. Then we're going to take the folded part of the loop, and we're going to push it through this little washer that we created. And see how that's just going to sit on top of that knot and just give us a little extra security. And then what we want to do is we want to start feeding it through our little holes in the top. So we've got this one like that. And then we're going to come to the opposite side. And we're going to come from underneath and poke it through the hole just like that. And then we're going to pick whichever side we want, and we can use our fingers to kind of push those little triangles in with that memory that paper has. It will nicely go there for us. And tuck that one in. And the great thing about this is these are totally reusable. You could put these on your tree every year as a countdown calendar or as a decoration. But you can also take the strings out and fold them flat. Well, not exactly flat, but you can fold them up and put them away. And then if you want to add new treats next year, you totally have it. Look at that, our cute little bauble. You could also add a little tag on here and just string it over top of the string with a hole. And you could have it with everybody's name for those who are joining you for dinner. If you were doing it as little gifts on your tree, you could add a little tag with whoever the recipient is. If you're doing it as a countdown calendar, you could have the numbers, 1 to 24 or 1 to 25, and hide them all over your tree. So many different ideas that you could do with this. Even if you wanted to just do it, you know how the kids are all into those blind bags, like 5 Surprise and even Lego blind bags and things. You could make up a bunch of these and tuck little treats in them, and then the kids have to open them and find out what the surprises are inside and just give them a whole, little bowl full to work their way through as a fun little festive activity or as a birthday gift. I think that would be super cute. So there we go. There is our little holiday bauble treat box. I think those are super cute. And if you make some, take some photos of them because I would love to see them. All right. Have a great lunchtime. We will be back on about 1:30 with another crafting video. Toodaloo. Bye.